I did say hi because I didn't see you. I saw your beautiful wife, but I didn't see you. Very good. Oh, right. Oh, hey, that's me.
Oh.
I see. All right, I'll see you after.
Okay.
So welcome. There are a few more seats, and just to make sure anybody who needs a seat has a seat. Anyone at the back who needs a seat? There's some up here. Maybe a couple over here as well.
Don't be shy, there's seats.
Yes. Yeah, make sure
I see you first.
that you feel comfortable. Okay, welcome. Welcome everyone. On behalf of Crystal and Len's family, thank you for being here today. My name is Penny Allport, and as a life cycle celebrant here in Victoria, it's my honor to be with you, to honor the life of Len Murray, and together acknowledge and mourn his death on July 22nd, 2024. I'd like to request that all our devices and things that might beep be turned off and stowed away for the next 30 minutes or so that we can be hands-free and heart-open participants in this time of remembering Len. Each of you arrives here today with a reel of memories of your own, and we want to make sure there is plenty of time for you to connect with one another, share refreshments, and possibly even meet new folks born of this gathering of Len's people. So we will take this more formal time to hear stories and experiences from family and friends, and then open a time for more casual sharing with one another. May this shared time of remembering Len open and soften, deepen and strengthen all of our hearts, and the bonds of love, family, and friendship, community that binds us. So now, as we gather to honor Len, a son, brother, husband, uncle, cousin, son-in-law, and dear friend, still in the shock and difficult feelings of his death being somehow out of order, unexpected, unimagined, and way, way too soon. 1 week shy of his 48th birthday. Our minds can reel with memories both fresh and old. Images of time spent together, conversations and experiences of great joy shared. Our minds can also reel with the many missed moments of a future together, time still yet to come, experiences still yet to have, conversations and celebrations still yet to be. When you arrived here today, you were given a memorial card, I believe, and a sprig of rosemary, known for its capacity to support our memory, a scent that Len no doubt encountered often in his work and in his own garden. I want to invite us all for a moment to just gently rub that sprig of rosemary and breathe in its pungent aroma as a way to invite Len's spirit among us. Crystal and I spoke of keeping this gathering light and meaningful, which is what we intend to do, which is what Len would have wanted. Being someone who didn't dwell on the so-called bad, but rather embraced the good. And I hear often with humor. At the same time, it's important to feel the weight, the gravity of Len's loss and his physical absence from your lives. The depth of grief that can roll in where humor is hard to come by. So let us move more deeply into this time of remembering Len, a humble, kind, gentle, caring, and fun-loving guy who was quick with a smile or to offer a hand by calling upon his family and friends who can best share the potency and joys of being one of Len's people. Born on July 29, 1976, Leonard Gary Murray arrived into the welcome arms of his parents, Jerry and Pauline, here in Victoria, where Len was raised and would call home his entire life. The third brother of four, Richard and Daryl before him, and Kevin after, sometimes known as the Murray brothers. Hilltop Greenhouses, Island Growers for over 50 years, would be the land and container where the family grew, all of them staying close to home, the home that Pauline and Jerry made on the family farm, taking the business from a tomato farm, expanding into all kinds of plants, passing the reins to Richard and Len, who continue to grow Hilltop into what it is today. Len's parents, Jerry and Pauline, ultimately are the ones who gave all of you the gift of Len. And there's no words, but to know that all of this room is feeling with you. I'd like to call on Daryl, Len's older brother by a short year, to share a little with us now.
I'm good. Everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
I've reached the age. Readers. Spent some time making some notes to jog my memory. I could put something together today. Maybe even make some of you laugh. We'll see. I met Len 47 years ago. I was one. He was just born. All the brothers, including Len, all grew up with Boy Scouts. Len was a Beaver. He was in Cubs, Scouts, Ventures, till I want to say 16, 17, learned how to drive, and there's this thing called girls, so we were done with it. I'm not sure he actually enjoyed it all the time, but we all did it, so it's something we did together. We did do lots of camping there. I believe we attended a jamboree. We did build Cub cars. Anybody in Boy Scouts know Cub cars? The Murray boys kicked ass. We went to the PCs. Dad was a little bit obsessive with it, but we were there. Another notable part of the Boy Scouts is Mom and Dad threw poinsettias in the greenhouse, and we would always sell them on the corner of Interurban and Marigold, maybe? Anyways, that's how we did fundraising for Boy Scouts. School. Len went to elementary school at View Royal. I see lots of his friends and classmates. Thank you guys so much for coming. Later went to Shoreline, graduated from Spectrum. I'm sure he probably did about as good as I did, so he graduated. Yeah, I can remember fondly with Len. Anybody's been to the farm, long run down the driveway in the morning in an effort not to miss the school bus, which is always followed at the end of the day by a long walk up the hill. Often him and I would talk about the need for a slide to the bottom and then dirt bikes to ride back up, but Mom always said no to dirt bikes, so we walked. This is a tough one for me. Around grade 3, and some of his classmates remember, Len actually had surgery to remove a tumor that he had in his head. Left a pretty good scar just behind the hairline all the way back. When he was ready to come back to school, because he definitely wanted to go, we outfitted him with a hat to help hide the scar and the shave on his head, because back in the day when he was in grade 3, it wasn't common that people would have shaved heads, so he wore a hat, and I can remember my mom saying, make sure you take care of Len. So I can remember walking up the stairs at View Royal Elementary, and Len was behind me. We walked through the doors, and can't remember the teacher, but Len definitely did. I talked to him about this a week and a half before he went in for surgery. And I was profound in his memory of it, because my memory sucks, but there's a teacher telling me he had to take the hat off. And I wasn't having it.
What a good big brother.
Yeah, definitely stood up for him. Yeah, pretty sure he was able to wear the hat after we did some explaining, maybe even a trip to the principal's office. And talking with Kevin today, I don't know how they managed it, but apparently they managed to convince the bus driver to drive him up the driveway one time. I don't recall that myself, but good on you guys. Sports. Don't recall Len ever playing sports. Wasn't a sporty guy, so nothing much to say there. Life on the farm. Lots of riding bikes. Lots of building jumps. Definitely use the shelving from the carts and bales of peat moss. And then we jump into the peat moss pile, sometimes wearing a hockey helmet, because that made it safer somehow. Doing cool skid marks in the gravel. Kevin shared, he used to have it was pretty awesome back in the day. It was a bike, it looked like a motorbike, well it wasn't a motorbike, and it had a banana seat, and it had no brakes. And Kevin shared that him and Len were riding down the front lawn and crashed into a tree, which is pretty awesome. Definitely built lots of forts as kids in the house, very elaborate creations, lots of blankets, sheets, typical kid stuff. We also had the pleasure of building forts out of big bales of peat moss, which later I recall turned into a wrestling ring. So, lots of wrestling as brothers. It was never a fair fight to be had for any of us because there was never a one way, but definitely lots of battles, lots of testosterone going on. Len loved to take things apart and put them back together. Whether they actually worked or not, not always. I know in talking to Richard, there's lots of tools at the farm now that Len created for fixing random stuff on the farm, and nobody really knows how to use all of them, so best of luck to Richard there. Had a profound memory with Len. The farm used to have dirt under the benches that were like 1x6 and 2x4s. We put Tonka trucks, and not like little, like we had like some intense stuff going on. There was definitely dirt moving, specific routes to take for the Tonkas and the diggers. We definitely learned our lesson when we left our Tonkas out in the driveway and Dad ran them over. Definitely remember that. In the snow, lots of sledding. The front of the house never used to be terraced with rock. It used to be like a 1-to-1 slope, pretty steep, and we would sled down the bottom onto a big jump and polish Mom's driveway, so no chance of her getting the station wagon out. Another one Kevin shared with us, Len liked the hula hoop. I don't remember this. And one time he was hula hooping in the delivery truck and fell in the back. Cars, Len definitely had a love of cars. His first truck was his Ford Ranger Turbo Diesel. He loved it, thought it was the best, and it was so slow. But he loved it, and then he upgraded. He had a red Ford Ranger 4-cylinder 4x4, it was a little bit better, and then he put 33-inch tires on it, so it was slow again. I think, talking with Richard, we think he just had a real thing for slow vehicles, because he then had a love for Jeeps, and you know how slow they are. Camping. Camping was always our getaway from the farm. Every year we always managed to take a couple of weeks. We would go to Quadra Island. That was one of the major hot spots for us to go. Still been there as an adult, and the chick that did reservations still remembered us, like super weird. But, when we were there, primary objective of camping was fishing. You had to fish in the morning, which means you had to get up early, like 4 in the morning. Come on, son, we gotta go. Why? Because we need you there so we can get more fish. So there we go fishing out there in Screech, the old wooden boat. Len, not so good on the water, usually got sick. But there was always a box of Oreo cookies, so that always made it better. That was the enticing factor. I see Richard smiling, he remembers the Oreos. When we were back, lots of bike riding, lots of exploring, building stuff on the beach, at Quadra Island, if any of you have been there. As a kid, we thought there was a BMX track, but I was there as an adult, and it's more like a hole in the ground with some like humps beside it. But as a kid, we thought it was awesome. Often we would spend the evening catching bullheads on the beach at the high tide. We would steal a wiener from the fridge in the camper, and then when we had caught a bullhead, we would let her cut up the bullhead and use it as bait. We thought that was pretty cool. Campfires. They were a normal staple of camping for sure. We would load up the truck, go get driftwood from the end, the park area there, because it was the driest. And we'd load up the truck, and then we got to ride in the back of the truck with the wind in our hair. I can remember riding back there with Len, and thought that was pretty cool. There's one night I definitely remember. Len decided that we were going to have a fire after he was told not to touch the axe. Richard was out fishing with Dad. Kevin and I, and Len, I think Mom was putting Kevin to bed in the camper maybe, and Len's proceeding to, Len, you shouldn't do that. Third swing, I think it was, and Len cut, I think, the end of his finger off.
His thumb, yeah.
Yeah. And so Kevin and I go to some random neighbor people we never met before, and then some other stranger we never met before took Mom and Len to the hospital. And then Dad comes back. Says, Mom. Well. But as kids, definitely we have been fortunate enough to travel all the island and fish some of the most remote areas on the west coast. I can remember with Len and Kevin and Richard, we would put in Port Alberni in the river. We had a 14-foot tinner, tin boat, had a 9.9 on it. Didn't go quite as fast as old Screech, so we put the other 9.9 on the back. That was going to make things better, so we raced out all the way out to Diana Island, which is the Broken Root area, and we would camp on the beach and then go fishing. Yeah, I was right next to a First Nations graveyard. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, I think Len actually had his first taste of beer there. Pat brought some Miller Highlights. And we tasted beer for the first time. I don't know if Dad knows that, but did you know that? Yeah, a good friend of mine, he shared with me, very profound. He let me know that a person dies twice. Once when they take their final breath, which we were fortunate enough to be there beside him, and later, the last time his name is spoken. So keep the conversation going about Len. I know we will within the family, but the friends, the community, just don't let his legacy die. He's a very loving man, brother. Had many battles with him, but I still love them. Thanks guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. When I read the many, and I mean many, Facebook posts and condolences, I was struck by how often the word kind showed up. Among others, like genuine, caring, cheeky, loving, upbeat, amazing, generous, fabulous cousin, and treasured friend. One remark that struck me and might be fitting now and to also take with you is what I wouldn't give to hear some smart-ass comment from Len right now. Your ever-contagious laughter. Listening to Len's mom-in-law, Pat, speak of Len, I was struck by her deep admiration and love. How Len always winterized her garden, delivering a load of beautiful soil along with her favorite white marigolds in early spring every year. Len was dedicated, said Pat, to everything, to business, to Crystal, to his family and his friends. He was the guy. Derek and I fell in love with Len the first time we met him. And I'll let Pat share that story with you now.
Pauline and Jeremy. Derek and I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for raising such an amazing son as Lynn, and for sharing him with us for almost 25 years. We share in your deep sorrow and your grief, and our arms are wrapped right around you. Crystal, thank you, honey, for bringing Lynn into our little family. We feel your pain and grief too, and our arms are wrapped around you. As you try to navigate your way through your own pain and grief.
Thanks, Mom.
And thanks everybody for coming here today. It's just so nice to see some old friends and friends. Even the girls haven't gotten together with for a while. Thanks for being here, the family. It really means a lot. Thank you so much. Lynn, I feel your presence in this room. Maybe it's because we're just upstream. I thought it was downstream, but Derek pointed out to me that it's upstream from where we lived, just down the way here on the gorge, where we first met you, and where we shared as a little family together so many good memories with you during your earliest dating and beyond with Crystal. I guess you could say we met your running shoes first, your sneakers. Derek and I have been out running an errand. We returned home, opened up the front door, and I looked through the living room window down to the dock to see if the canoe was still tied up where we had left it. It wasn't there. I started to tell Derek, the canoe's gone. Instead, I followed his stare down to the gigantic pair of sneakers planted firmly inside the front door. I finally got to say, Derek, the canoe is gone. Still staring at your huge running shoes then, he said to me, well, don't worry, hun. Whoever it was, they took our one canoe, but look, they left us two. Those shoes would give anything to see them still there. By the end of that day, then, both Derek and I had fallen completely in love with you. Soon you became a member of our family, our big boy. We're forever grateful that you adored Crystal. You were always in her court. Can't see my own writing on the side. We're grateful, too, for all you've done for Derek and I, and for all you were to us, and all you still are to us, and always will be. Our dearest big boy. Our arms are wrapped around you with love for all eternity.
Thank you, Pat. When speaking of Len and Crystal, Pat said Len adored Crystal. There was no Crystal without Len. No Len without Crystal. If she was cooking, he was there, always game for wherever Crystal wanted to travel, as you can see on that back wall. And even showed her how to fix her own car. They were a team. On another note, Uncle Lenny, being a big kid himself, was playful and loved his time with nephews Logan, Nelson, and Corbin, and niece Brooklyn. Available, reliable, dependable. Uber Lenny in some of his friends' address book on their phone. Len made sure everyone got home safe, always. Mia Starcevich, one of Crystal and Len's dear friends, mentioned something about girls' night out with Lenny. And I'll let her fill in the details now.
I got a loud voice.
Fabulous voice.
So yes, I'm Mia, and I've had the luck to have known Len as a very good friend for many years. And once my daughter Sophie came along, she claimed him as family, and I have many photos throughout all the years of her with her soother in her mouth all the way through the years of instantly spending the first moment that Len would walk into the house, and she would jump into his lap, and because he had such beautiful energy. So
Some great pictures.
Yeah.
Memories.
So I'm also going to speak about how I met him. So I was at a social function for Island Farms employees. Crystal and I worked together, but we didn't know each other really well yet. We were doing the climbing wall out at Stelli's Crossroad, and we had all just reminded ourselves how hard it is to climb up a wall as you're getting older and heavier. Then we decided we were going to do a photo, so we all got together, and the person that was taking the photo was, oh, move in a little bit here, move in a little bit there. We were all squishing and squishing because there was too many, and it was sort of this endless smile. And once the photo was done, all of a sudden, I disengaged, realizing that my hand was up here, and I was holding someone's finger like a cow udder. And I look up, way up, and there's this guy looking down at me. He's like, well, hello there. How are you doing? In his very slow drawl. I was mortified. I didn't know him. I felt so uncomfortable. I couldn't figure out why I had even done that, you know. But Len could see that I was so embarrassed, and he just smiled and said, hey, you're fun. We're going to be good friends. And, you know, that really started our friendship. It was instant. So what I love that he instantly made me feel at ease. He soothed my insecurities. This was one of the things that I loved most about Len. He never made you feel judged or inadequate. You always felt good when you left his presence, right? My best friend, a year ago, we were here celebrating her and her life, but her and I had a list, and on this, it was called the unicorns, and those are the magical, mystical people in your life that you don't understand how they can be so good and so genuine, and so Len was on that unicorn list. Len was so much fun. He always made our ladies' nights to include him. We knew that if we had him there, we would be well taken care of and safe. He was capable and responsible, and I don't remember Len ever saying no to anything, any kind of idea or plan. He wanted in on everything. Len was also about fun and being goofy. We liked to have water balloon fights for his birthday. And also, he loved kids. So you know when you're a kid and something happens that really makes an impact. You know, the thing that you remember forever, right? So when Len did this for a bunch of 7-year-olds, he would let them run with him and run from him and use him as a jungle gym, and he was just up for anything. So Len totally had made their night, and they were high on excitement, and seeing a grown-up play like that was just blew their minds. And by the end of the night, they were all calling him Uncle Lenny, and he to this day continues to be that for these kids. They all remember him. So he has more family than you realize. I just can't believe we're here, and I love you all.
Thank you, Mia. When speaking with Crystal, she mentioned even the tire guy called with condolences. And that in his humility, Len didn't even recognize how much of an impact he had on folks many times. It's good to just pause and take a moment and feel the impact that Len Murray had in our hearts and breathe. Sometimes we hold our breath as people speak, and it helps the next speaker to just feel our own hearts and feel our breath. It was Crystal that introduced Len to the flavors and adventures of world traveling. Over 48 countries in just under 25 years of marriage. These two worked hard and lived hard together. From Argentina to Thailand, cruising and doing their own thing in various places, right up to Antarctica last January. Len relished discovering new foods, new lands, and new people. I'm going to call on Crystal now.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here. It's a hard time. Oh, look at everybody here. So many people from all different elements of Len's life over the years, all gathered here in one place at the same time for him, just for Len. I would have absolutely hated to miss this. It's a whole year's worth, at least, of social interactions in 1 year. Get it out of the way and relax the rest of the year with the dog. And just to see so many familiar faces that time has gotten away from us and seeing. Lenny and I found each other pretty early in life, having met at Buell Elementary when I was in the 3rd grade. Our friendship grew as we grew into be teenagers a little bit, more and more over the years, until finally at 19, he shyly asked if I wanted to go for a walk with him and his new puppy. Well, that was it. I fell in love instantly with Jake, his 8-week-old puppy. Soon after, however, Len and I were also inseparable. Len had such a love for life, as so many of you know. Well, his dreams were pretty modest. He eagerly embraced any adventure that popped into my head. Hey, honey, let's get married next week in Hawaii. Sure. Oh, I love this house, but the walls are all wrong. We can move those. Yes, dear. Hey, I found a Groupon for China. When are we going? I think we both knew that when this was I think we both knew when This Was Our Forever was our very first trip away. We'd only been dating a couple of months, and I decided that we should be going to Mexico for Millennial New Year's. Cancun, here we come. Now, this was Len's first trip outside of Canada. Aside from that speedy road trip down to California with Richard and the Supra he had at the time. You were there too. We arrived in Cancun in the evening. I got to the hotel around 10 o'clock, dumped our bags in the room, and I went running for the ocean, just couldn't wait to get in. So as I ran across the sand, shedding my winter clothes as I went, and jumped right in, feeling the beautiful warm water, I emerged and looked around, and Len was nowhere to be found. He hadn't joined me in the water, so I turned back around and faced the shore, and there he was, still standing in the grass, right at the cusp of the sand, in his heavy jeans and his dark blue polar fleece jacket, looking at me like I was a complete lunatic and wondering what the heck he had gotten himself into. After about 5 minutes of goading him a little bit and assuring him that the water was warm, he finally agreed to test the water, still certain this was some sick joke I was playing on him. So slowly he removed his hiking boots, and then a sock, and then he dipped his big toe in the surf, literally just his big toe. "Oh, it's warm," he said, and quickly proceeded to join me in what would be our very first night swim together. From that point on, he trusted me and dove into our future together with excitement. Well, we had many places left to see. Together we ventured pretty far and wide, amassing a million stories and memories along the way. One thing we never did do, though, was plan the big wedding. We basically eloped in 2001 in Hawaii, grabbing just the parents. On our way there, for our 10th anniversary, we enlisted the friends of our favorite partners in crime here, Karen and Clayton, and headed down the aisle with Elvis in the Graceland Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas, where Len promised to always be my hunka burnin' love. As our 20th hit, unfortunately, so did COVID. So we thought 25. 25's the magic number. We are going to do a big, traditional, cheesy wedding reception with everyone that we love there to celebrate with us. Well, unfortunately, we lost you, Lenny, just shy of that magic number. But I guess I got to plan the big party anyways. What do you think, hon? Did I do enough of your deviled eggs? I feel you here in spirit, of course, but I sure wish I could hold you one last time and have that dance you still owe me. I'd like to finish up by sharing Len's last text to me. He wrote it before he went into the hospital and scheduled it to arrive to my phone in the middle of his surgery the following day. You can imagine my surprise to hear the familiar ding of his specific tone, knowing full well he was in surgery, and also that his phone was in my purse with me. And he wrote, "Hey, beautiful. I'm writing this text message sitting here in the sun on the back deck while you're playing in your garden on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I want you to know how much I love you, how much I appreciate you, and how much you mean to me. You have turned me from a young kid with no idea what to do with this life, as well as no idea of what I am capable of, into the man I am today. I might be biased, but I think you did a pretty good job. I'm in the operating room now with great doctors and nurses, as well as the right mindset and strength to get through anything this does to me. Not to worry, I will be out shortly and we'll be together again forever. Love you, Lenny. P.S. I'm not crying, you're crying." And he's right, I was.
tears and laughter, pain and joy already this afternoon. And now I want to take a moment for those of you who don't know, to share a little of how it was that Len was traveling earlier in the year and came to die so suddenly this summer. Diagnosed with kidney cancer in May, enduring many operations in June. Len met his diagnosis and treatment fiercely, with a passion for life, curiosity for what was happening in his body, humor and positivity. However, to his and everyone's great sorrow, this gentle giant who would do anything for anyone and could fix almost anything, simply couldn't fix cancer. Len died on July 22nd, 2024, surrounded by his loving family. I'm aware that sharing this brings a certain energy into the room, which is important to share, and not have just one person feeling this all on their own, including Len. This experience humbles us all, brings us into the sharp reality each of our lives is finite, fragile, and fleeting. With this embodied knowledge, we are then asked to move forward in our own lives, carrying this as both a wound and a gift. To receive the goodness, kindness, and gentle spirit of Len Murray deep into our hearts and minds, and ask ourselves how we will live now. Karen is a keeper of our stories, said Crystal, of their dear friend Karen, who along with her husband Clayton have been close friends with Len and Crystal since their first meeting in Mexico 15 years ago, when the four of them connected instantly. And I'll invite Karen up now.
I just can't believe we're here. Len was like a brother to me. I have 6 brothers. I liked him more. We instantly, as she mentioned, we met in Mexico, and Crystal and I were just, really, that's a long story. But Len and I bonded instantly, really over sort of our commitment to our work and to our jobs that we did. Len and his commitment to the farm and to the family business there, and myself to whatever garbage I was doing at the time. And so he and I came up with a game that over the years we would play over and over again. We called it Drink Twit. No, we didn't. That's just what I'm going to say here today. The game was that whichever one of us would start doing something work-related first, take a phone call or check a text, had to serve drinks to the other person for the rest of the vacation. All of us. Yeah, I lost a lot. But it turned out that he had partners in his crime for this, Madison. One trip to Osoyoos, Madison my daughter, was back home working for me. And Len got her to call me and ask me a work question just so that I would have to get a drink to it. I learned early about Len that his best friend in life was, sorry, it's not you, it was the boiler. The boiler helped him a lot. Every time we were traveling anywhere, and he answered that call every single time. We've been on a lot of vacations together, actually, and with a couple of trips to Mexico. There's a story about some donkeys. Ask me later, okay? Lots of great bike rides in Osoyoos. Most notably, one where the boys ditched us at a winery and rode their bikes home to go and get the truck, convinced that Crystal and I were not going to be able to bike ride back. That's probably a good call. Another great trip in Port Hardy. So many stories from that trip. It was Len's birthday weekend, as often our trips were.
he made us pull over the side of the road in downtown Port Hardy, which is as big as this room, and to stop these guys and to help them on the side of the road. Their boat had broken down, or their boat trailer. I'm never going to remember the details, but he stopped to help these total strangers, and he monkeyed up some solution for them so they could get on with their trip. And that's just who he was. He taught me a few new words, and they're all appropriate, I promise. But at one point, like a decade ago, he found this list of words that just felt like Len words, like flute and smirked, paterners, along with his great sense of humor. And now every time I say or hear any of those silly words, I instantly think of him. But I'll never forget lunchbox cocktails, endless board game nights, a very famous trip to the museum, endless New Year's Eves together. And, and I'm really mad at him, because for the first 6 months of every year, he would say that I was older than him, but I was really old now. And how he's never going to catch up again. He will forever be younger than me. So mad at that. Just a final thought. There's a poem that I found that really sat with me. It's not the one you're thinking. Look beyond the empty chair to know a life well spent. Look beyond the solitude to days of true content. Cherish in your broken heart each moment gladly shared, and feel the touch of memory beyond the empty chair. Miss you, Len.
Thank you, Karen. So now, as we transition towards the completion of our time together, I want to say a few words of commendation for him, which means words of gratitude and appreciation. Leonard, Gary, Murray, we thank you for your cheeky and loving, pleasant and gentle, funny and generous spirit in life. The way you could light up a room with a joke or two, which we will do our best to remember a few and share them often in your name. We thank you for modeling what is most needed in these times, kindness, for ourselves, for one another, and the world, which we will take into our days and years in remembrance of you also. And when our imaginations need something to remember or imagine you now, we might imagine you driving, off-roading, into a brilliant sunset, carrying all of the love and appreciation in this room in your backpack. Maybe a poinsettia or two to deliver in the back of your Jeep as you make your way into the welcome of the ones who have gone before you, including Jake, your beloved dog. I invite everyone to join with me now in speaking 3 phrases aloud to Len. Leonard, Gary, Murray, we thank you.
Leonard, Gary, Murray, we thank you.
Lenny, we love you.
Lenny, we love you.
Len, we will always, always remember you.
Len, we will always, always remember you.
I love what Daryl said, that we do die twice. And that the second time is when the last person remembers our name, our story. Crystal shared this poem with me, which is a poem, as a poem can, says so much with few words. A life well lived. A life well lived is a precious gift of hope and strength and grace for someone who has made our world a brighter, better place. It's filled with moments, sweet and sad, with smiles and sometimes tears, with friendships formed and good times shared, and laughter through the years. A life well lived is a legacy a joy of joy and pride and pleasure, a living, lasting memory our grateful hearts will treasure. Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never, never forget how you made them feel." As we move back into the world now, hearts full of love for Len, inspired to take the next steps we can each take to make this world a better and kinder place, may you never forget how Len made you feel. That is truly a gift that stays and can be called upon forever. Please stay and enjoy refreshments, and most importantly, time to connect with one another. Share some of your own stories of Len, and maybe even make a few new connections born of this time, as Len Murray's legacy lives on and on. And continue to circle around this family, Crystal, and keep holding them well in this coming time. It's important. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Crystal, for inviting me to be here.
Thank you.
And thank you, Len.
Thank you, Penny. I don't think the system. Yeah, I don't think so.